And I did it again. Good afternoon, weekend warriors. It is Sunday, 1/23, February 23rd. Hopefully you had a great American Martyrs 5K run yesterday. And today we are going to continue with 7.2. 7.2, part one was a monomial times a binomial, or a monomial times a trinomial, or a monomial times a polynomial. A single term that was distributed. So if we had something like this, 5 times the quantity 2a squared minus 3a plus 5. Remember, we took this monomial and distributed it to each of the terms in the trinomial. So it looked like this, 5 times 2a squared plus 5. Why is this plus when this is negative? This is plus because this is a positive 5. This negative is attached to the negative 3a. So we will see that negative sign with the 3a. Very important for us to understand that concept. And then we have plus 5 times 5. So we see each of the terms. We see the 2a squared. We see the negative 3a. And then we see the positive 5. And we are distributing a 5 to all three terms. Now we're going to multiply all of those. We're going to do 5 times 2a squared, which is 10a squared. We're going to do 5 times negative 3a, which is negative 15a. And we're going to do 5 times 5, which is 25. This is in standard form. Must be in standard form. And there is nothing more I can simplify. These are unlike terms. So that would be my answer. So when we get this situation where we have a binomial times a binomial, we're going to do this in 2 steps. We're going to distribute, let's do this, let's make this a little bit bigger for our screen. We're going to distribute that first term. That first term is k, and that is going to get distributed into both of the terms in the second binomial. And then we're going to take the second term, positive 3, and we're going to distribute that into both of the terms in the second binomial. So if we look at this, it's kind of like first step. Well, k times k plus 14. Second step is going to be like 3 times k plus 14. We're just doing a double distribution. So what does that look like if we do that step out? If we look at k times k, and then k times 14. That's step 1. You see k, let's see it right here, k times k, and k times 14. It's just like this. And then we're going to do the second part of that distribution, which is distribute the 3. That's 3 times k plus 3 times 14. And if we look at that, that's just like this second distribution. And that's this distribution. So we're just putting it in one line, and we would get that. You don't have to write this information. We don't have to write this. This is sort of just what is going on. You can visualize what's happening with that double distribution, but this is the line you're going to write. And k times k is k squared. K times 14 is 14k. 3 times k is 3k. And 3 times 14, 3 times 12 is 36 plus 6 more is 42. And then most students would leave it like this, but that would be wrong. We still have to simplify like terms here. So we still have some simplification to do. So we're going to add 14k plus 3k, which gives us 17k plus 42. Now these are not like terms because they have the same variable but not to the same exponent. And we got to make sure that our answers are in standard form. Please make sure your answers are in standard form. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that double distribution. We're going to do the first distribution, r times r times 5, r times r plus r times 5. And then we're going to do the second distribution, negative 10 times r, negative 10 times 5. Negative 10 times r and negative 10 times 5. R times r is r squared. R times 5 is 5r. Negative 10 times r is negative 10r. And negative 10 times 5 is negative 50. We have like terms still to combine. That gives me r squared minus 5r, a positive 5r and a negative 10r. We're combining, they're like terms, we combine their coefficients. Positive 5 and negative 10 leaves me with negative 5r minus 50. Is a binomial, two terms times two terms. We have v times v and v times negative 3 plus v times negative 3. Make sure that v gets that positive sign. Make sure the negative goes with the 3. And then we're going to distribute our second term, which is positive 11 times v and positive 11 times negative 3. V times v is v squared. V times negative 3 is negative 3v. 11 times v is 11v. And 11 times negative 3 is negative 33. Combine those like terms. V squared plus, what's that? 8v minus 33. We have b times b plus b times negative 8 minus 9 times b minus 9 times negative 8. Let's keep track of those negatives. So we have the b, that's going to the b, and the b going to the negative 8. And then we have the negative 9 going to the b, and the negative 9 going to the negative 8. B times b is b squared. B times negative 8 is negative 8b. Negative 9 times b is negative 9b. Negative 9 times negative 8 is positive 72. B squared minus 17b plus 72. And we get really good at these. So we should be able to do these as we get familiar and see that pattern. We should get super familiar with what's going on. V squared minus 2v minus 8v plus 16. V squared minus 10v plus 16. A times A plus A times negative 7 plus 5 times A plus 5 times negative 7. So important to keep track of your negatives. A times A is A squared. A times negative 7 is negative 7A. 5 times A is positive 5A. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. We have a squared minus 2a minus 35. We had more negative a's than positive a's, so I'm going to end up with negative 2a. R times r plus r times 14 plus 5 times r plus 5 times 14. R times r is r squared. R times 14 is 14r. 5 times r is 5r. And 5 times 14, 5 times 12 is 60, plus 10 more is 70. Like terms, r squared plus 19r plus 70. k times k plus k times 3 minus 12 times k minus 12 times 3. K times k is k squared. That's not a very good k. That's not much better. There we go. K times 3 is 3k. Negative 12 times k is negative 12k. Negative 12 times 3 is negative 36. K squared minus 9k minus 36. If you take the time to do the double distribution, you are awesome. You are just going to be, you will get it right every single time. If you just take the time to write out the steps and not try to do shortcuts, then you will tend to just get it right and not make silly mistakes. And the amount of time it takes for you to do this really doesn't demand that much effort. It's just keeping it systematic. 14 times 12. Well, 12 times 12 is 144. 144 plus 24, that's the other 12, is 168. Plus 168. I don't need a calculator. I'm pretty good with, I'm making sure, yep, my signs are good. I like that. That looks pretty good. M times m plus m times negative 11 plus 13 times m plus 13 times 11, negative 11, excuse me. M squared minus 11m plus 13m minus 143. That's a multiply by 11 trick. We get m squared plus 2m minus 143. Ooh, okay. Now we have a coefficient in front of my x variable in my second binomial. So now it's x times 7x and x times 3, and then 1 times 7x, and then 1 times 3. So be careful that changed up a little bit. I don't know if you saw that, but that's x times 7x, x times 3, 1 times 7x, 1 times 3. So x times 7x is 7x squared, multiplying like bases. X times 3 is 3x, 1 times 7x is 7x, 1 times 3 is 3. So we get 7x squared plus 10x plus 3. So we have a coefficient in front of x squared now. In all of these problems, coefficient of our squared, our first term squared variable was 1 all the time. So once our binomial, our first term in the binomial is greater than 1, we're going to have a value in there. All right, ooh, now we're getting really big numbers. 4p times 4p plus 4p times 3 minus 1 times 4p minus 1 times 3. 4p times 4p is 16p squared. 4p times 3 is 12p. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4p. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. 16p squared plus 8p minus 3. 4a times 3a plus 4a times negative 1 minus 1 times 3a minus 1 times negative 1. 4a times 3a is 12a squared. 4a times negative 1 is negative 4a. Negative 1 times 3a is negative 3a. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 12a squared minus 7a plus 1. That's a good one. Oh, this looks very similar to the other one we had done. M times 7m plus m times negative 1 plus 3 times 7m plus 3 times negative 1. M times 7m, 7m squared. m times negative 1, negative m. I don't write negative 1m. 3 times 7m is 21m. And 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 7m squared plus 20m minus 3. 3x times x plus 3x times 6 plus 4 times x plus 4 times 6. If you need to draw these lines and write it out, do the 3x times x and then the 3x times 6, and then draw this out and write it 4 times x, 4 times 6, do that. Take your time. Make sure you're distributing. Make sure you're distributing correctly. All right, so 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 6 is 18x. 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times 6 is 24. 3x squared plus 22x plus 24. 3x times 5x. 3x times 4. Minus 2 times 5x, negative 2 times 4. 3x times 5x, 15x squared. Don't forget to square that. X times x, 3 times 5 is 15. X times x is x squared. 3x times 4 is 12x. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. 15x squared, this is going to leave me with positive 2x minus 8. 7x times 2x plus 7x times 6 minus 10 times 2x minus 10 times 6. 7x times 2x is 14x squared. 7x times 6 is 42x, 7 times 6, not a comfortable one. Negative 10 times 2 is negative 20x. Negative 10 times 6 is negative 60. 14x squared plus 22x minus 60. 3n times 6n plus 3n times 9 minus 3 times 6n minus 3 times 9. At this point, we're on problem number 18. You should be in a really good rhythm. You should be really confident with this. The only thing that you're doing is you're multiplying, you're working on your times tables, and you're making sure that your calculations are correct. 3n times 6n, 18n squared. And don't forget about squaring when you need to square, and not squaring when you don't need to. 3n times 9 is 27n to the first. Negative 18n and minus 27. And now we're just doing like terms. 27 minus 18 is plus 9n. Almost made my first mistake. I think that's pretty good. That looks good. 19, you have x times 2x plus x times 3 plus 7 times 2x plus 7 times 3. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 7 times 2x is 14x. 7 times 3 is 21. 2x squared plus 17x plus 21. I think that's good. Let's check it. Something feels funny here. No, that looks good. I did not mess up. And number 20, a times 5a plus a times negative 2 minus 1 times 5a minus 1 times negative 2. A times 5a, 5a squared, a times negative 2, negative 2a, negative 1 times 5a, negative 5a, negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2, not 3, 2. 5a squared minus 7a plus 2. That looks good. And that's it. So that is the homework. Hopefully you did an excellent job with that. Double distribution is the concept that you should be thinking of and helping you solve that. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.